Shalom. In this lesson, I'll be going into sheep culling. Call Amla, Yahweh Bashmal Shai, Wahawa Kakudash. Double honors to the hopefully elect elder apostle slave to be saved. Lord willing, stone with those of the GMS church on down to the rest that may be under the same doctrine. Shalom, onward to the Akim here in this faction of this hopefully elect assembly in the order, giving all diligence and all true faith and sincerity. Onward to the rest of you men, you brothers doing likewise, you elder Akim, on to you younger Akim, Shalom, and to the rest of you believers also in on this faith as well. So, sheep culling. Before I get to that specific part of this lesson, which is a very handy and useful and important thing to know as far as how sheep are dealt with when it comes to them being herded by their shepherd, with knowing that we're compared symbolically or spiritually to sheep, and Yahushua is compared symbolically or spiritually to the shepherd. And then you have men set up as leaders over the remnant, really over the nation completely, as shepherds, right? Who would basically have the same voice as Yahushua. But nonetheless, that's what makes this handy and important. But before I get into that specific part, which is sheep culling, I want to read this. So this is a PDF that I have pretty much going into, sheep farming, and herding, dealing with sheep, period. So this is, I'm gonna just read this first part right here. This is sheep farming. It says, number one, why sheep farming? Sheep with its multifaceted utility for wool, meat, milk, skins, and manure form an important component of rural economy, particularly in the arid and semi-arid and mountainous areas of the country. It provides, so this is important information to know why we compare it to sheep, because sheep have multi uses, from everything that they're equipped with and they are able to do, and supposed to be able to do, which makes them useful, something worth dealing with. It says it provides a dependable source of income to the shepherds through sale of wool and animals. And obviously the animals will be the sheep. But it says that the advantages of sheep farming are, and obviously the sales of us was while we were sold on the slave trades, as the Most High is the creator in the name of his son's spiritual sheep, with being the Hebrew Israelites, the chosen people of the earth. Everything we come with are able to do and able to, to be used for, it all makes sense, okay? While people want to steal us like these dogs and due to our nature as well, and why the Lord will want to use us and farm us, compare himself to a farmer, and use us because of how, how wide our range of use is. And not only that, compare himself to a spiritual shepherd to lead us based off what our nature. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Okay. So getting into this is sheep culling. Okay, so culling. All right. Now this is the most important part. It says culling of sheep is very important for the development of a good flock. It helps to remove undesirable animals and breeding from those which are most approximating the ideal sheep. See, and breeding from those which are most approximating the ideal sheep. It says about 10 to 20 cents per culling should be practiced annually to develop a good flock. The flock size should be maintained by replacing culled ewes by ewe lambs born in the flock. Okay, so pretty much culling is what takes place in this truth, because the Lord told us how his sheep hear his voice. And obviously, just a nutshell what this said, basically, once the animal is showing that, according to the shepherd's discretion, that it doesn't need to be, it was his sheep, it no longer needs or serves purpose to be with this flock. It's no longer good for the flock, for whatever, like I said, for whatever, upon the shepherd's discretion. Okay. And it's an undesirable at that point. And the shepherd is pretty much managing and grooming the flock to be the best flock it could be. This particular flock, which in our case would be the remnant. So the Lord, he will remove undesirables that were his, that even heard his voice, from among the flock, the ones he really want. And going back to the actual, the thing that what the Lord is doing is based off of, it also says remove undesirable animals and breeding. It helps to remove undesirable animals, which would be the sheep, right? In this instance, it says, and breeding from those which are most approximating the ideal sheep. So the Lord is not going to keep, the shepherd is not going to keep the ones that's fit, upon his discretion, subject to being around those that aren't, because he don't want them to breed, by any means. He don't even want them to intermingle. They got to be of the same mind, the same caliber, the same level, and the level is according to whatever the shepherd standard is, whatever sheep hit that standard, they good. Whatever ones don't, but they're found to be amongst the flock. They follow him. They have his voice. His voice he's gonna get rid of. They'll be cold. Okay. And it says this is done annually, meaning yearly, to develop a good flock. Okay, and that the flock size should be maintained. So the Lord he has a measure of people. So the shepherd will have a measure of people, a sheep that it wants, and it's not gonna go over. Hence that standard, that he's locked into. But what he's gonna have to cull. So with him getting rid of the undesirables to not only have the number he wants, but to have a good flock, he's gonna replace those he get rid of, he culls, right? With, youth, basically someone he can start over with. That person will be replaced. So translate that to what the Lord is doing here, and we're going to prove it. St. John 10, and I'm going to start at 26. But ye believe not, because ye are not of my sheep, as I said unto you. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. So there it is. So yeah, you got those. This is what's taking place every year amongst us that's in this truth. Yeah, you heard the sheep's voice, the shepherd's voice. But if we're compared off, if our whole situation is compared off the relationship of a shepherd between of a shepherd and his sheep, that will consist of culling too. You know? So you have sheep, you know, in that instance, with that being said, you have sheep that know, you know, they respond, you know, they're amongst this flock. They follow the shepherd, they hear the shepherd's voice, you know, but they're subjected to possibly being gotten rid of if they're not at the standard, which will deem them to be undesirable, you know, and they can affect those that actually are hitting that standard. They'll be gotten rid of, man. Okay, because once again, we're compared off of the actual, you know, that actual, you know, thing that goes on, you know, sheep, you know, shepherds and sheep, you know, herding. Okay, so you're gonna have that here. So just like you will have those animals that was cold, that was once of that flock, that belonged to that shepherd, and they even followed the shepherd. They heard the shepherd's voice, if you will. You know, they followed the shepherd, I'm saying, if you will, but they definitely knew the shepherd's voice, which allowed them to be amongst that flock, be around, be here, you know, but ultimately gotten rid of. Is the same thing here. So let's prove it. St. John 10:27. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. And I give unto them eternal life, and they shall never perish, neither shall any man pluck them out of my hand. So just like in the instance between the actual sheep and the shepherd, the flock, actual flock, and the actual shepherd, you're gonna what? You're gonna have those that are amongst the flock, and they're gonna stay. They're gonna remain. Okay, they're gonna stay and they're gonna remain. The true ones, the ones that's deemed, okay, these are my sheep according to this standard. And everyone else that isn't hitting that, they might be amongst the flock, but they're gonna be out of there. See that? And that's the same thing that's being said here. And I give unto them eternal life. Who? His sheep. Just because you in the flock, just because you hear the voice, it doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna be kept around. You know? So once again, though they be of Israel, they are not all, though they be of Israel, all are not of Israel. Though they be of Israel, paraphrasing. He's looking for the Israel of God, that desirable, okay? That, you know. So it says, and I give unto them eternal life, and they shall never perish, neither shall any man pluck them out of my hand. Okay, let's get to it. This is Matthew 13, and I'm gonna start at verse, let's start at 27. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares? He said unto them, An enemy have done this. The servants said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest ye gather up the tares, ye root, lest while ye gather up the tares, right? So you got those as of the flock, because these tares, you know, and the wheat, it's the same as, you know, the flock, which are those as, you know, which consist of those that actually are sheep and those that actually aren't the Lord's sheep, you know? The undesirable versus the desirable, okay? So it's the same thing. So he's telling us what? That the undesirables is among the flock. By how? They heard the sheep voice, you see? And that lets you know what? That culling is taking place, has always taken place, and is going to take place continuously. And this will be annually. See that? Meaning yearly and throughout the year. You see? But every year. It says, but he said, nay, lest, which will be what? Men being pulled out of the truth. Oh, and we're going to actually get to how you cull them from the flock. It says, but he said, nay, lest ye, while you gather up the tares, ye root up the wheat also, root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Okay. Now we're going to jump down to the point. This is verse 34. All these things spake Yahushua unto the multitude in parables, and without a parable spake he not unto them. Right, because this whole sheep thing, tares, wheat, flock, shepherd, is all parabolic, man. Right? It says that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world. Yeah, because you have those that think the so-called Jesus Christ, Yahushua, he's going to come back and save everybody. You have those, you know, meaning everybody on earth, whoever believe. And you have it, people that think that Yahushua, who people call Jesus Christ, even amongst those that know they're Israelites, thinking he's going to come back and save all Israel, but that's not the case. Then you have those that know his name is not Jesus Christ, his name is Yahushua, right? And the name coming to name his father, Yahweh, is coming to only get the remnant, but they don't act like that. You see what I'm saying? They don't really show it in their actions. So that's what this is actually going into. The reason why the Lord uses sheep, he uses parables such as these things, these sorts, is because it's secrets in them. It allows him to have, it allows it to create a, secrets. Now, is it secrets to where, well, the Lord don't want nobody to know? No, it's secrets to where the Lord can reveal certain things and show forth exclusivity, and clearly manifest to everybody. He has a certain way. He has a standard. He has a certain thing he desires. He's really specific. He has a method of of how he's gonna get things done and accomplished. So once again, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world. Right? So there it is, man. So that's a secret. And the secret is that what? Amongst us, there's going to be, that's deemed and understand or know that we are compared to sheep. There is now a chance to be where there is now a chance to where it's able to be revealed that the Lord is gonna do culling. See that? It's gonna be culling that takes place, factually. Okay? So anyway, so move on to say the least. Then Yahushua sent the multitude away and went into the house, and the disciples came unto him, saying, declare unto us the parable of the tares of the field, which is the same as it's the same as when you're talking about, the sheep, okay? The goats and the sheep, He answered and said unto them, he that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man, and field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. It says, the enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. Right. A culling is going to take place amongst that harvest, amongst all of what was in one place growing, a culling, which would be like a flock. You see, undesirable is going to be gotten out the way, and what he actually wanted, what was actually deemed to be that which he was growing and had planted, will be kept. See that? It says the man, but that process takes place yearly. You see? And this is also why I read what I read in the beginning. You know, those, you know, the Lord has sheep because they able to do all these different things and provide all these different uses. If you have somebody amongst the flock, right, they should be seen in such a way. Okay. And if they're not, we're not useful to the Lord in the ways, in the multi ways that he has set us up and created us to be useful. Like he said, ye are the salt of the world, but if the salt has lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is therefore good for nothing but to be trampled, cast out and trampled underfoot, you know? But he, you know, if found amongst us things, if not found amongst us the things which the Lord has created us to be useful for his business, we will be cold. You will be cold. Okay? It says, the Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them that do iniquity, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Yeah, so everything that offend, meaning stuff that's undesirable, things that's not functional, things that's not useful. Like that tree. He walked up to the tree, was hungry. The tree had no fruit. He said, let no fruit grow henceforth grow. Let no fruit grow henceforth on this tree, you know, ever again, basically. Paraphrase it, man. Okay? Period. And that's likened unto a sheep gotten rid of or cold. Okay? So Luke 12:32, fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. See that? Because the flock dealing with what? The sheep. And then it said little flock. Going back into how he wants to keep it, the shepherd wants to keep the capacity, you know, let me pull it back up. You know, the flock size should be maintained by replacing culled ewes by ewe lambs born in the flock. See that? So it's a flock size, hence a little flock. Okay, and then once again, we're seeing right here, this flock side is said to be subject to being what? To culling, to be subject to culling, which is getting rid of the undesirables, man. You know, and everybody else that's of the desirable, you know, stays with the shepherd and they benefit off what the shepherd has for them. That's who gets it, you know, and that comes down to whether or not they have the things and are bringing forth the things that the shepherd is looking for, or the things that deem them to be sheep and useful sheep. You see that? See that? So in this instance, it's a remnant, and the Lord is going to get rid of those that's not bringing forth the things that makes us useful believers, you know, useful people that serve him and worship him, you know, and know his doctrine. You know, what's the point of knowing his doctrine if you're not going to be useful with it? Like, you know, it's if you're not going to be useful knowing it, he's going to get rid of those that's like that, man. And the ones that's not like that, he's going to keep, and they're going to get the kingdom. The other ones will be cold. See that? So once again, fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. So once again, we just simply proving that culling is going to take place and is taking place. Regardless that said, it says 1 Peter 4 and 7. It's 17. For the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of God. And if it first began at us, what shall be the end of them that obey not the gospel of the Most High? So pretty much going back in necessities, everyone that's not cold is going to get the kingdom, you know, but in order to get that kingdom, what's going to take place? These sheep, us Israelites, Hebrew Israelites, including the 2/3, we all going to get the kingdom. But what people don't understand through the secrets, once again, is that what the Lord comparing us to sheep spiritually, culling take place we're also subject to being to a spiritual culling. See that? Which is why this is written. See that? 1 Peter 4:17, for the time has come that judgment must begin at the house of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. See? And if it first begin at us, now why? Because the Lord want to make sure he got the flock how he want it. It's useful. And it doesn't become unuseful by having ones that's not really hitting the mark, not really hitting the standard around those that are. You see? Cause you know, it can't be any schisms. See that? It says, and if it first begin at us, what shall be the end of them that obey not the gospel of the Most High? So fear not, little flock, it is your Father's good will to give you the kingdom. So all the nation of Israel is going to get the kingdom, but because we're the sheep, we're who Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua has come back for. That's why he said, I am come to save that which is lost. He said, my people have been lost. That's Matthew 18 and verse 11, okay, which they remove in certain translations. Okay, you go to read Matthew 18:11, it's not in certain translations. They completely removed it because that's showing he ain't come back for everybody. But he only came back for the sheep of Israel. Matthew 15:24, the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Matthew 15:24, Matthew 10:5. You know what I'm saying? Jeremiah 50, and I believe that's either verse 6 or 7 on down, or Jeremiah 51 verses 6 and 7 on down. But I think it's 50 and 6 and 7 on down. His people have been lost sheep. Okay, so yeah, so the sheep, which is the so-called lost sheep of the house of Israel, which is the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians, according to this, you know, we're the ones that qualify to get the kingdom. It's gonna get the kingdom. But culling, with us being compared to sheep, culling is also what we're subject to, a spiritual culling. And it's proven, for time is come that judgment must begin at the house of God. See that? To make sure, because once again, all of us are sheep, but we're not necessarily. All of us probably hear his voice or bear witness to this. All Jacob's Israel, right? All so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians on their father's side scattered abroad are Israel, but they might not be that they might not know the doctrine. You see what I'm saying? They might not have repented. So this is why we're subject to culling. So that's why judgment is going to begin here. And this is proving, and the reason I'm getting this, because this proves that a culling is going to take place, which is why I say a little flock is going to get the kingdom. That remnant. It ain't say the flock, it say a little flock. It got specific. Even more so down to us that's in this truth. Us that know the truth. You see that? Judgment must begin at the house of God. And if it first begin at us, what shall be the end of them that obey not the gospel of the Lord? They not going to be around. They weren't picked from the beginning. So this is actually coming down to us that's in this truth. We're subject to a culling, being that we're compared spiritually to a what? A flock of sheep, man. See that? So Isaiah 48:10, proving the culling. You know, the Lord got to make sure everybody hitting the mark and everybody is desirable. Actually consider sheep in his eyes, useful. This is Isaiah 48:10. Behold, I have refined thee, not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. See, that's basically what the shepherd is doing in the process of culling. Let me go back. Culling of sheep is very important for the development of a good flock. It helps to remove undesirable animals and breeding from those which are most approximating the ideal sheep. See? So those that's hitting the mark, that's taking the truth serious. And then you always got to balance. You got those around, and they might have those specifically, physically even around them that, you know, that's not taking it serious. You know, the Lord's going to remove those people away to keep a good flock, to develop a good flock. And he's going to continuously keep his eye on this yearly, annually. As it says about 10 to 20% culling should be practiced annually to develop a good flock. See? The flock size should be maintained by replacing cold ewes by ewes and slakia, by ewe lambs born in the flock, and a ewe is a female sheep. Okay? Now, wrapping this up, that's basically a refining. Isaiah 48:10, behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. See that? I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. This is none of this is what he's physically gonna do to us, doing to us. This is all spiritual. Now we subject to carnal things, but it's all spiritual. We're not actually a gold chain that he's gonna actually put in fire, and but we subject to the same treatment for the same objective, a purpose, to get, just like a chain, the impurities, the undesirables, out of it. Just like gold, it's subject to fire to get the impurities, the undesirables away from it, out of it, and to maintain a good peace. This is it. So that's what we subject to. So you're gonna have us subject to spiritual fire, which is affliction, different tests, different things happening, order being given to you. Can you deal with it? Can you follow it or not? Right? A requirement, a standard you must hold yourself to. Can you do it? And that helps play out the spiritual culling process and the development, which is for the purpose, which is for the development of the elect, the remnant. Zechariah 13:8. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die. And we're going to get exactly how you cull sheep. Okay. But the third shall be left therein. Let's get it now. You go into it. Culling is the practice of selling off animals that you no longer want to or no longer can keep. There are many reasons to cull ewes. Economic drives most of them, as you have a sheep as a hobby. Aesthetic reasons may be important to you. Now, how do you cull them though? Humane killing of lambs. See, to humanely kill a lamb is how you cull a ewe, or cull sheep, I should say. It says use a firearm, that's the sword, stun with a captive bolt, then immediately bleed out, give lethal injection, which would be pestilence. So sword, pestilence, okay. And famine, which is the depletion of something, which would be likened unto, stunning being, the sheep being stunned with a captive bolt, then immediately left to bleed out, So hitting you with something, hitting you with a famine, hitting you with no more of this. And then you depleted of it. You just left to starve. That's like that. So sword famine, that's what he's gonna actually do to those that was once among the flock that heard the Lord's voice, but weren't actually his sheep. That don't mean anything. We gonna prove that. And he gonna physically kill these individuals. Lord willing, I'm not one of them, nor you that's listening and taking heed. As it says, Zechariah 13:8, and it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. See, it's all the same thing. It says, they shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my power. So Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is my power. So that's exactly what the Lord, and reason why the Lord compared us to sheep, because he's gonna do a culling, and which is why, and that's important, and that's why that information I gave in the beginning was important. So you can understand why the Lord compared us to sheep, because sheep have multiple, they're multifunctional, they have multi uses. We're the people that can be used to bring forth everything he wants to. We got the bodies, we got the look, we got the soul, we got the understanding, everything, man. We got the look, if I didn't say, we got the taste, we got the endurance. Also, when you read it too, it tell you that sheep are the easiest. Let me grab that, that's heavy. When you read the second part, it say what? Sheep do not need expensive buildings to house them. It says, and on the other hand, require less labor than other kinds of livestock. So we don't need much. Jake could take, like they say, I could make something out of nothing, make $1 out of 15 cents. Jake can get it done, and we're the least of all nations, like the Lord said, man. It says the foundation stock are relatively cheap and the flock can be multiplied rapidly. The way we ate, so we just perfect. Who fits? That's why he compared us to sheep. It's the easiest. Man, you can get it done, man. Sheep are economical converters of grass into meat and wool. We could take something and make it into the chief things, useful things that fly as well. We could take one thing and make it into, like Will Smith, when he was on the academy, he took the damn blazer and he flipped it, he turned it in, able to take everything and just make it into something. Jake be locked up, they could take stuff that's peasant food and turn it into gourmet dinners. You see? Sheep will eat varied kinds of plants compared to other kind of livestock. Yeah, we ain't beast-like. We got subject to slavery through a serious culling that took place, which is when the Lord sold us, and we started eating all this other crap. And that's the law. That's the Lord. He gave us, proper diet. You see, this makes them excellent weed destroyers. Unlike goats, which would be Esau, these Edomites, these other nations, sheep hardly damage any tree. So these are peaceful people. We're fit to rule. Now imagine if you in this truth and you don't have none of the things that the Lord is looking for to get this done, which a lot of these things I just read translate over to what he requires from us as spiritual sheep, as his sons and daughters. Closing out Isaiah 1:25, and I will turn my hand upon thee and purely purge away thy dross and take away thy tin. He gonna get rid of the ones being like that, because they're compared to dross, something undesirable. You see that? And the impurities that's found in different precious or amongst precious metals. See that? And the undesirables will be the dross and through the different obstacles the Lord will put all of us among us through. By default, that's how he's going to separate the undesirable people that's in this truth away from those that get through it, which will be the desirables, who will be likened unto the precious metal itself. And this is verse 22. Thy silver is become dross, and it says thy wine mixed with water. Proverbs 25:4. Take away the dross from the silver, and there shall come forth a vessel for the finer. This is the reason why. Verse 4 in the NLT, remove the impurities from silver, and the sterling will be ready for the silversmith. We're going to actually be able to be something beautiful when you get rid of niggas and people that want to bullshit, lie, and don't want to keep, they don't want to be right, man. You see Ezekiel 22:18, and we can actually rule the world and get everybody else in order. But you can't do that, and it's hard to do that in a business that's set up to do that with those that's causing conflict and the slowdown of that in that business. See that? So this is verse 18. Son of man, the house of Israel has become unto me as Slaki. It's become unto me dross. So this talking about us. All they are brass and tin and iron and lead in the midst of the furnace. They are even the dross of silver. See? So the Lord is going to do what? A culling process to get the undesirables, which is due to different tests, away from those that are the desirables, who will pass those tests. So call halam la Yahweh Bashim Yahshai wa Harakak Till next time. Shalom. Take heed.